Hello there, dear friends. Kalidas here to share about the part of our mind that we're often wasting our days away by dwelling in, and that's called Rahu, the dreamer. Here we are in this present moment. This is the moment that is said to really exist. In fact, you could call this eternity, because this is all that ever was and ever will be. This moment, right here. This is all you can experience. And yet we have these parts of the mind we call memory. That would be not Rahu, that's Ketu. And Ketu is what we try to use when we're trying to be in Rahu, which is projecting future ideas about either solving problems, planning things, wishing for things, or fearing things. And there's other ways that we project the future, but we make ourselves not as present when we spend so much time in Rahu, and it's really just dreams. Have you noticed that when you imagine something's going to happen, that it always happens a little differently? This is something I've learned in my life. You can't predict the future. And so what do we do in order to gain intuition about the future? Well, the intuitive person knows that this Rahu projection is flawed because they're using their own small little memory of experiences in their subconscious mind. And the intuitive knows that they need to disengage from Rahu, from projection, from prediction even. And they enter here and now. And in this here and now, this is where the mind and the soul can perform best. So imagine your dreams at night. You have dreams, and they're supposed to be based on things you've experienced, right? It's like your subconscious mind reorganizes things it's already known. And this is Ketu. And so in the dream, it's playing with things that have happened, but not always in a sensical way. Sometimes our dreams are crazy, but they do have elements of our memory, don't they? And so Rahu is about that stable too. Is that you're trying to use it just as you're trying to, or just as you're having your dream at night. It doesn't mean very much. It doesn't often come true, for one thing. And a lot of time is just wasted away in subconscious dreaming. Well, this is also what we're doing with Rahu. We're using a small part of our subconscious experience to project what we think we know about the future. And oftentimes this makes us miserable. For instance, if you've had a bad experience somewhere and then you have to go back to that place, your Rahu's going to be hating that. Or for instance, an example is I have a son who I just love so much. He just turned 10 years old last Sunday. And oftentimes I find myself, when I'm meditating, being very agitated by my attachment to him, by my fear of what will become of him. And this is also my Rahu. It's projecting what I think I know about the future, but it's really just dreaming. It's wasting time. And so how do I disengage from that Rahu and be a less fearful parent? And that's definitely faith-oriented, is that I have to remember that this child who's 10 now, 11 years ago wasn't mine. And where do we belong to? Who do we belong to? We belong to the infinite, to the spirit of love that made us. And that will surely watch over us for all eternity. So I don't need to worry about my son, and I need to constantly remind myself, in order that I can act intuitively with him in the moment. If I'm all scared I'm going to lose him, then I'm going to be trying to hammer in these fearful cautionary lessons into him. And that's not very good parenting, putting fears in your child, you know? So to trust that there's a bigger parent for all of us, this helps to disengage Rahu. which is why people with faith in God and his power to protect us and guide our destiny, these are the intuitives. Why? Because they're not trying to figure it all out themselves with their brilliant little subconscious memories of experience. So Rahu is a great distorter and disturber of our inner peace and our contact with eternity, which is happening right now. And he can only be used by consulting with the other side of him, which is our memories of what have already happened to us. And those are limited and sketchy anyway. So let me share some things with you first from the Bhagavad Gita. This is the way of the intuitive, and in this Krishna says, to those who are attached only to me, this is loving God, being with God now, and letting go of our future projections, and just being in love with Spirit, and who worship me with love, I impart that discernment of wisdom by which they attain me completely. This is the here and now. If we think we know, if we think we're aware of what's going to happen in the future, then we'll go with our own knowledge, won't we? And we will not have that discernment of wisdom by which we attain God completely. So I thought that line from the Bhagavad Gita was valuable for this talk. Rahu, the dreamer, the one who dreams away the present moment in order to project impossibilities in the future. Why impossible? Because that will never arrive. It will always be out there somewhere in our psychological projection. Only right now is real. So how do we make progress in life and dodge this intruder in our consciousness? We must be cultivating a faith in the divine and a spiritual life where we know we need guidance here and now. And part of the way that we demonstrate this is by refusing to indulge in anxiety and fear. Another thing, when you're meditating, you may have lots of thoughts about what you need to do. These are practical needs. You know, I have a list here. It says I got to clean my cat litter. I got a lot of things to do today. So I'm sitting there in meditation. I'm thinking of them like, don't forget to do that. But if I don't write that down and get it out of my mind, it's going to come back again in that meditation. Oh, don't forget to clean the cat litter. It'll come several times. So one good strategy is to write down your plans. Get them out of your mind. Don't try to remember what you have to do in the future. This helps you to be here now. Get them down on paper, your plans. A to-do list, very valuable. Just going to look at some of the things I've written. This is one of the strategies by which we can calm that stormy, stormy Rahu. Another strategy, schedule a trip in the future. This will help your Rahu to feel like something at least is coming. Something that will be fun. And that will help you to, if you have Rahu dominating, feel restless or like same old thing happening, schedule a trip. And that's one of the strategies that my teacher Drupada taught me about how to deal with this restless, desirous energy of Rahu. Another one is to offer the issue to God. This is when I think of my son falling into a rapid roaring river. Oftentimes I think of myself diving right after him because he matters to me more than myself. And so imagine all the ways that my desperate attachment to him gets the best of me. I really got to offer this issue regularly to the divine. It's your child. I trust that you will watch over him, even in death, even in the end of this life. That continues. This eternal moment will be here when you die, and you'll see you've always been eternal. It's right here, right now. This moment will never end. And yet, it's ever new, isn't it? So we get caught up in memories, and then we start thinking, oh, I think I know what's coming, and it's never true. It's such a fascinating way to live, to not any longer trust that voice that thinks it knows about the future, and instead to get in touch with the wisdom of God through your devotion. As he says, those who worship me with love, I impart that discernment by which they attain me completely. And this is intuition. It's God's presence in you. And it's such a fun way to live your days. You'll have much more fulfillment this way. And it's worth it to make the effort to day by day retrain the mind not to think that it knows the future. And me and my family, we're always teasing each other about this. Oh, you're just using your Rahu. You think you know it's going to be a stressful day. Well, let's be here now. And it's a great, great antidote. And so lastly, I didn't want to go too long on this because I gave a couple of talks last week and I wasn't able to put them on Instagram because they went over 15 minutes. And if you'd like to see a talk about the constellations and you're watching this on Instagram, there's a couple of different talks up on my YouTube page, Astrology with Kalidas. And we'll also talk about Ketu in the next talk. Ketu is that subconscious, mostly memory, but also leads us back to the most precious memory of all, that we come from the infinite love. And if we can dissolve our trauma, we will be able to find our way back in memory to that moment when our soul was brought forth into existence. And this is the moment when we entered into separation, but we come from unity. And so Ketu is a very yogic planet, yoga meaning union. But today's is about Rahu. It's our fears, it's our desires, it's our dreams, it's our wishes. And it's good to have goals. It's just that if we spend all our time dreaming about the goal, or even trying to organize the goal to where then when we start we won't make any mistakes, that's not the way forward for a successful endeavor. We need to do the experiment and gain the experience, and often the experience is failure. This is what teaches you how to do it better. And people are afraid to fail, so they think if I plan it out all perfectly enough, then I won't. They spend the rest of their days planning this way. It's not the way to success. Get out there and make some mistakes. Start driving towards your dream. Move energy towards that book you want to write, towards that project you want to create. A little bit put into your projects regularly. This is here and now, and you're able to accomplish your dreams when you apply your energy to the present moment to work towards your goals and desires. And again, a spiritual life and contact with God, this is an essential ingredient to activate this power, but it's well worth it. It will help you live a more peaceful life, for one thing. To know that the future is not actually up to you to figure out. It's an impossible equation, unpredictable, and countless are the people who've thought they've secured the future with what we call money. And those same people are put in the ground in disillusionment at the end of that chapter. So when you find yourself anxiety-ridden, try to remember that this present moment is all that's ever been. And this is also where we can worship Spirit, we can love God, and then we will see our intuition, our feeling of this present moment, our being fully here has been established, and our intuition can then guide us. So I hope this talk about Rahu has been helpful for you. These are some things I've learned, probably the hard way, but my aim is to help you learn them a little bit more easy. So thanks for listening to me today about Rahu, and next time we'll talk about Ketu. Om Jai Ma.